Good evening, cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome, Whovians, to what's going to be our last review of episodes, last episode review of Doctor Who for
this season.
For Meow.
We're sad.
Not as sad as I thought we were going to be, but this is going to be full-on spoiler review of The Timeless Child. There's no way we can talk about this episode without at least talking about everything they just dropped in our laps.
Right.
Because it was a supersized episode for us in the States. It was an hour and a half, a little more than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it was a big episode for us in the States. But they dropped
a lot.
Bomb after bomb after bomb. So we are going to spoil a lot of it. Overall, so you've been warned. You're on your own from here on out. Overall, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was good, but I still am processing.
Right. I agree. I thought this was a great capper for what they were trying to tell this season with the Master and everything.
We both felt that this season was better than last season.
This season
finale was better than last season.
This season was really good. There was a couple of episodes that we're going to skip when we rewatch it, but there's a ton of good stuff in this season. Yeah. A ton of good stuff in this season.
I don't know that there's any episodes that I'd be like, skip. I thought they were all at least okay. I would totally watch them again.
Yeah.
There weren't the freaking emoji episodes.
Yeah. Or the absorption monster.
Oh, yeah.
That one was a little weird.
Yeah.
That's the episode we don't talk about. Okay. We're just going to lay it out, and then we'll just figure out how to talk about it as we go along.
All right.
We find out who the Timeless Child is.
Yeah,
we write out the rule. Don't tell me the rules, because the rules don't exist. We write that out. The Master is straight out crazy and amazing and kills off Gallifrey and maybe dead. It's the Master. He's never really dead.
Right.
We get Time Lord Cybermen. We get the fam made it. How does the fam make it?
They made it, but they're not all together.
They're not all together. She's in. The Doctor's in prison. The Jadoons show up and send her to prison.
Why? I thought that we left on good terms. I mean, okay terms.
I didn't think anybody could transport into the TARDIS either, but
that's true.
There's now 4 TARDISes out there in the world.
Right. A house,
a tree. There's that thing that me and Clara took off.
Oh,
in.
yeah. And then
the TARDIS.
Box. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody, and listening to the show. Have a good night. Let's talk about the first one, which is the Timeless Child.
Right.
They just kind of sneakily throw that in about a third into the episode about who the Timeless Child is.
Right. I still am not sure I understand how the Doctor had a history.
So the episode the last week's episode that we had, the Rise of the Cybermen or whatever it was called.
Right.
The Ascension of the Cybermen. We kept getting Brendan, his story of growing up and then him getting redone or whatever. And in this episode, they show that that's actually a previous iteration of the Doctor.
Right.
Before the first Doctor as we know it. It's before Bradley's Doctor.
Right. So does that mean... Okay. So does that mean that the half Cyberman wasn't really the kid?
Yes. That's how I took it.
Okay.
That Brendan was a version of the Doctor.
Brendan the child, not the half Cyberman guy.
Right. The half Cyberman guy is somebody completely different that they didn't tell.
Okay. And then how did the Doctor have a childhood? We know the Doctor had a childhood because was it Capaldi or was it
12? No, 11. That had the whole
him sleeping in the bed in the
right,
loft or
right,
whatever?
Right. So they spent a bunch of this episode. The Master spent a bunch of this episode telling the Doctor that everything you knew is wrong, is a lie,
Right.
is a lie, and you did have a childhood. She said, I remember having a childhood. I remember growing up with you. I remember doing stuff with you.
Yeah.
And he said, all of that is true. The question is, who were you before that?
Right. But then, okay. Right.
Like I said,
so why
they
doesn't she
dropped
remember
some
it?
stuff. Right.
He said there are
why he doesn't
redacted parts of the Matrix.
Right.
Why did they do that? Why did they pick then to start her memories from?
Right.
So many questions.
And then you have everything that happens with the Time War, with the Daleks, and then you have everything that goes on with the War Doctor, and they fix
right.
Gallifrey, but then the Master comes in and kills everybody in Gallifrey, sets it on fire, and then the guy who was the gatekeeper, Shermas, who was the gatekeeper for the humans to get away from... right. He ends up using this particle that's in what we've been calling the Alpha Cyberman, and blows up and kills everything that's organic on Gallifrey. Right. So everything on Gallifrey. So Gallifrey is like, how do you write Gallifrey back into the story? How do you write the Master back into the story?
Well, but they're all Time Lords.
Right.
So do they just regenerate and they're still there?
Do they regenerate in there? There's a ton of questions that they just by doing the one thing. And I'm okay with it. Like I love the idea of putting all these new ideas and new thoughts and new questions out there.
Well, it's that's been happening constantly. You can only have 12 doctors. Well, we'll just
right. Don't tell me the rules.
Right. We'll just change that.
And then they just changed it again.
Yeah.
And for me, when they whenever they do something like this, I never take it as, oh my God, they are changing everything that we ever known about
right. That's Doctor Who.
Yeah. But I don't have a problem with that because every time you learn something new, it changes everything that you've previously known. And so with them coming in and saying the Doctor is a timeless child from a different universe,
right,
and was essentially the first Gallifreyan who could regenerate,
right,
and everybody else after her, after him, it or her, whatever, was limited to 12 regenerations,
right.
But she's not because she's the first one. They don't know where she's from.
So was Chibnall like, I don't like your explanation. We're going to do my explanation.
I'm not going to lie. I really think that him and Moffat had a conversation, and Moffat said, I would do it this way.
But Moffat's the one that did it the other way.
Right, but I know for a fact that Chibnall sat down with Davies and Moffat and had long conversations after he took the position of the showrunner.
Well, yeah.
And I'm wondering if somewhere in that conversation, Moffat said, I did it this way. I'm not really sure if it's the right way to do it. I would have done it this way.
Yeah.
And gone from there. Like that, I really like, and now you have the Doctor who can be infinite.
Right.
Like truly infinite. Instead of having the 12, like we've always been
potentially has been infinite.
Jesus. So, and we got Dr. Ruth back, and she kind of helps 13 figure out.
Get out of. Is she 13 now?
She is 13 until we're told differently. Right now, she's 13.
She could be 113.
Because she even asked the questions, how many more have there been of me?
Right.
And in that one sequence when the child kept regenerating and they were doing all this
Right,
stuff
right.
that they actually there was like 6 in there.
Yeah.
So, and we know Ruth, so that's 7,
Right.
and we're at 13, so that's 20. I was told there was no math on the show. And 4 Daleks and 3 companions. Now an extra 4 companions, because I don't know what the 4 that survived, or the 3 that survived that were from the future.
Right,
The
3.
last 3 humans.
Right.
Like we have all them hanging out now.
Right. They're hanging out in the house.
Right.
TARDIS.
Thing. How do we not have an episode somewhere in the future with all the TARDISes come back into play? There's with the tree, I don't know how that all happens. Okay. Cybermen, Time Lords, regeneration possibilities.
Right.
That was kind of taken out with the whole God particle thing that kills off all organic life or all organic matter. So, but then you have all the questions that leads now. That means Gallifrey is truly off the board, like we were saying earlier. Or is that just because of the use of the bomb and the God particle thing, does that shift it into a different plane or something like that?
I don't know. Or did they just all regenerate? Except for the bodies of the people that were in cold storage.
Right.
Just the people that were in the Cybermen.
They've been saying that Jodie is coming back. Did you feel that last little bit when she had the bomb and the mini alpha? Did you really feel like that was a misdirect, that they were actually going to kill off this iteration of the Doctor and have her come back as something else?
I questioned it a little bit. Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah. Which I'm sure is what they wanted you to think that.
There was a moment when she pulled that bomb out and puts it in the Master's face that I really wanted the episode with her just pushing the button and the episode ends. I really wanted like leave it.
People would be so mad.
But it would have been amazing to have that conversation, because you don't have they left on the cliffhanger, the cliff shelf. Also kind of works.
The same thing.
They left on a cliffhanger of the Doctor being in prison, but the ultimate, we're going to talk about this for the next 8 months conversation, like they did with The Walking Dead when Negan shows up.
Yeah,
it would have been 8 months of that conversation.
They kind of did that with Capaldi, though. He kept sort of regenerating. I mean, you knew he was going to regenerate,
right,
and then he shows up on.
I'm not saying that the regeneration. I'm saying her hitting the button.
Yeah,
I think her just hitting the button.
Yeah,
and the Master's face being of surprise.
Yeah,
but his comment to her was, "If you press that button, you become me."
Yeah.
And they've done this before with Tom Baker. He had the chance to kill off all the Daleks by just touching the 2 wires together, and he realized that if he does that, he just becomes the Dalek themselves. And there's been multiple Doctors who've had the same kind of conversation, and so that was a nice little kind of reminder to the Doctor that if this is what makes you better than the Master, is that you don't do this, and the Master will. And so that having that whole thing not actually happen, and then having Ko showed up, which I kind of felt was going to be the resolution.
Yeah, I didn't feel like he was going to make it.
Right. I just his explanation was kind of short. I'd like to have had them spend more time about maybe how he started the whole war by sending the Cyber Matrix, the what do they call it? The Mercury stuff.
The Cybertronics? No. Cyberium,
sending the Cyberium back in time. And
Yeah.
he said apparently we didn't send it back far enough.
Right. Well, I mean, they could revisit that story.
They could revisit that. But this episode is big enough as it is, with enough stuff that having that in there.
Yeah.
The Flash scene when the Doctor's in the Matrix and the Master kind of leaves her to live in torment or whatever.
Right.
And she she works her way through memories to kind of work her way out of it.
Right.
We both caught a bunch of stuff in it, but we both said afterwards that we like to see that section again.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on YouTube or something, or will be soon.
Yeah.
About
So all the doctors.
all the doctors. Jack was in there. I think an Adipose was in there.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume some of the companions.
Some like the Cyberman. I think there's a Cyberman head in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So that
couldn't
whole
rewind.
we couldn't rewind with the live. We should have recorded it and come back to it. We get the one thing we've been talking about that's been the running conversation with us this year has been we're going to lose one or all of the companions.
Right.
And none of that happened.
Well, sort of. I mean, they're not all together anymore.
They're not all together, right.
And I mean, I didn't expect them, I don't know. I didn't necessarily expect them to die. Companions do not die very often.
Right.
So, but I mean, I kind of felt more like, especially Yaz and Ryan, like one or both of them was just going to be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But
especially after the speech that Graham gave to Yaz about being one of the best humans.
yeah, I totally expected. Yeah, I'm like, Yaz is going to die, right?
Yeah.
But and maybe now that they're back, I assume to their. They just said the 21st century,
Right,
so
right.
I assume they're in their
And
time.
Dorset or something, I don't know, whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
just like a random village or something.
But yeah, maybe they'll be like, we're done, you know, because she's got to get out of
prison. Yes.
So by the time she gets back there, maybe some time will have gone by and they've decided they don't want to do it anymore.
They are the new de facto Torchwood while the Doctor's gone. Because they all six of them now have all been through something. They have this TARDIS, so they can use it as a kind of a not necessarily a moving TARDIS, but a central office or whatever.
Right.
And then somewhere in this the Revolution of the Daleks episode that we're getting at Christmas, Jack shows up and says, "I know where the Doctor is. We need to go save her." I only say that because Borman posted that Scott showed up in the UK. Because he's working on a super secret project in the UK, and instead of just saying, "Hey, we're redecorating the house in Cardiff," he actually
which is what he said last time.
And they have said like Jack has a possibility of coming back.
Right.
It would make a lot of sense that Jack's the one that goes and breaks the Doctor out of prison. Maybe. With the use of the companions, and they're doing something on Earth. They're like, stuff is going weird because the Doctor's not around, and so they're the ones who actually do all the stuff. The very Torchwoody.
Yeah.
Like I'm wildly speculating, but it's got a whole bunch of stuff to it. Like,
right. I think the Christmas will be a standalone, have nothing to do with anything currently going on.
Currently, we just read a quote before we started recording from Chipnall saying we couldn't leave it on a cliffhanger with the Doctor where she's at. And so we'll have something at the holiday season. So Christmas, New Year's, there's somewhere in there that'll happen.
Right.
Which means they're probably filming it right now or going to be filming it shortly.
Soonish, yeah.
And stuff. A couple things, like I said, there's a ton of stuff that happened in this episode, but the big things were Timeless Child, who the Doctor is, what that all means for the future, the companions making it, the Cybermen, the Master. I want to talk about the Master specifically in a second. But like, is there anything other big things that we can think of off the top of our heads?
No, I think that's enough.
Okay, so so a couple things that I wanted to talk about was the building of Gallifrey.
Yeah, that was super cool.
The rendering of building of Gallifrey was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, they spent money on this episode. The BBC opened the checkbook. They did it all season. They actually, the whole season was shot. The practical effects with the Jadoon.
Yeah.
A lot of the special effects are really, really well done. Now, you could do good special effects pretty cheaply nowadays.
Yeah.
And that rendering itself, I mean, I could probably figure out how to do it in about an hour with simple programming. But
yeah, it's like an AutoCAD thing.
but it's still super cool that they did all that, and the Siberium floating mercury thing
yeah.
that was very cool. So like they actually spent money on it. This episode, for an hour and a half for us in the States, I think the doctor herself was only in like 15 or 20 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of the master and a lot of the companions.
Yeah.
Which I felt very weird about for a lot of the episode, because the show is called Doctor Who. It's not called the Master and the Doctor's Companions kind of show.
Yeah.
But why they did it that way, I get it. It makes sense to me. It just seemed very weird to have a very non-Doctor centric episode be the season finale.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say there have been non-Doctor centric episodes, but the season finale, I get that.
It's usually the Doctor and with the companions and ex-companions and some friends from somewhere, all like trying to
and
solve
a lot
it.
of running.
And a lot of running. Co telling the Doctor to run.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, my heart's. It was so good. Sasha Dewan, who played the Master, is, I'm going to swear, so kids, cover your ears, is fucking shitballs amazing.
Yeah, he plays a
episode.
crazy guy, crazy Master very well.
I loved him as the Master.
Yeah.
And it's from the moment he says hi in the first episode, and just the way he handles being the Master, and always standing kind of cockeyed, and his head is always turned he's sneaking even when he's in front of you, and the way he talks and the way he kind of gets distracted by things because he's trying to do multiple things in his head at once, and how he's like overly confident and like
very Saxon Missy.
Right. Well, he's the Master. I mean, that's
right.
But just the way that Sasha did the role is just like I want more. I'm super upset that they actually quote unquote killed him off. I actually want him as the Master coming back and being the main, showing up every once in a while bad guy for the Doctor.
Yeah.
Now we've got the Cybermen. We did the Cybermen this season. We're getting the Daleks. The Revolution of the Daleks is what the next episode is called.
Right.
And so I love that idea of having the Daleks come back, because they're essentially the original bad guys. They weren't the first bad guys, but they're the original continuing bad guys.
Right.
But having him as the Master, having the Master being having him or her be there just in the shadows.
Oh, the Master's not gone.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
The Master's never gone. We thought the Master was gone after Saxon and Missy.
Yeah.
The Master is never gone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And the Daleks are never gone. We talked about it already, but I want to just reiterate, the season overall was really good.
Yeah, much better than last season. Yes.
Much better than last season. I was very happy. To prove that point, the Doctor physically going after the Master.
Oh yeah, she pushed him down.
She pushed him down.
Yeah.
Like that was a huge thing for me, because that doesn't happen. The Doctor isn't
physical
yeah. like that,
yeah.
especially with the Master. The Doctor's always been trying to be loving or accepting or whatever with the Master, and her physically going after him and him curling up was just like I love that. I love that was and Yaz grabbing the Doctor when she was trying to sacrifice herself and kill everybody off, and she turned around and kind of snapped at Yaz, get off me kind of thing, like that. That would never have happened with any of the previous Doctors.
She's going through some stuff.
Her whole world has just exploded
Right.
in her head,
Right.
And so I just that would never have happened, and I'm really waiting for people to be like, the Doctor's such a meanie or a bully or whatever, and I'm just it's
right.
gonna happen, whatever. Anything else you want to talk about this episode?
Nope.
It's a lot. We probably need to go watch it like 7 more times, but that's what we're at right now. That is our thoughts on the last episode of the 12th season, 12th series? I think they call them series in the UK,
yeah.
of Doctor Who, called The Timeless Child. What did you guys think? We really want to know what you thought of the season and this episode, and where you think the future is for the Doctor and the Fam and the 15 TARDISes that are out there. Let us know in the comments. Like this video, hit subscribe button, and hit the bell for notifications. If you're on the podcast feed, please follow us on the podcast feed. We'll be doing a lot more stuff here going forward, and we're on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, sometimes, whatever. It's a lot. So, until next time, cult members, if we don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.